Welcome back to A Fresh Story, the podcast where we have conversations about brave decisions to start over again. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Jenny, and we're so glad you're here today.
Hello, sister. How is the weather there today?
I don't know. I haven't been outside yet. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I'm going to go outside today either. I think Thomas is going to go do the shop once we wrap these. I'm going to go talk about the grocery list with him, and he's going to go to the shop. I'm sitting right in front of a window. It's very sunny in that kind of oblique way where it's like you can't really see what color the sky is, and it looks like it's pretty windy. But it's probably lovely out. I was out last night. I walked home in the rain. It was very Scotland.
Did you kiss the rain?
No, I didn't. I didn't think that the rain wanted
Whenever
me to
you
kiss
need.
it.
That got weird. Anyway, moving on. So we had, speaking of musicians, not a musician, but a DJ, we had Nicole Ryan.
Nobody was speaking of you. Oh,
well, no, the song Kiss the Rain.
Billy, what was her name? Billy?
No, it was the Billy. Now we gotta Google
what was
this
her
one.
name? Kiss the Rain.
Whenever you need me. I love that song.
It's
like
a great song, but
school dance song.
I have to say that since I've closed closed the gap with my husband, I don't feel so much. I need to kiss the rain because I was walking home to him, so it was okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on.
Speaking of Billy Myers,
maybe this person talked to Billy Myers.
DJ.
We talked to Nicole Ryan, who is an incredibly well-known DJ. She is in Manhattan, and I have known her for a long time. I worked with her in multiple capacities over the years. Such a nice person, like always giving back to the community. And she had this tragic accident happen. And the whole conversation is really about how she had to rebuild her entire life, like her mindset, her body, everything, right? And the little celebrations that when tragedy happens, we kind of have to rebuild our joy. Like, what does that look like for us? So it was a really powerful conversation. She's a delight. She's so wonderful. So please enjoy this conversation with Nicole Ryan. And please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to A Fresh Story so that we can keep telling fresh start stories. Nicole Ryan is the host of The Morning Mashup, a popular morning radio show on SiriusXM Hits 1. She's also a mom, a podcaster, producer, does all the things pop culture, parenting. And my question is, do you sleep, Nicole?
I do sleep, actually.
Okay.
I'm quite a good sleeper. I love to sleep.
Okay, because I was looking at your, when I was getting ready for this, and I've known you for almost 10 years now, on and off, and I was looking at your socials, and I was like, you literally have a podcast and stuff for like every single facet of your life. So you are a great communicator.
Yes.
But I met you through Monica Banks many years ago, and one of the things that you are really passionate about is giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
And so we worked with you on, and I will never forget, it was a baby registry to give back, and it was all products that gave back. And so I got to know you and work with you, and so we were super excited to steal you away for a little time because you're a busy gal. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I've been so looking forward to this. I can't even tell you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
How are you doing on this beautiful, what is it, a Wednesday afternoon? It's gorgeous outside.
I mean, this is like my dream weather. Like I grew up in upstate New York, like in Syracuse, like in Western New York. And so like, I don't ever want it to be too hot. Like once it's like the middle of summer, not that I'm like crapping on summer, I start to get like, I'm like picky, like it's a little bit too hot. So this like 70, sunny, breezy, that's my sweet spot.
It's gorgeous. It's like perfect New York weather too. You go outside and you iced coffee. You just everything looks beautiful. Well, I could talk about that forever, but let's get back to the beginning of your fresh start story. Why don't you start there?
So, we discussed this off the air a little bit ago, but my fresh start, like so many are, was sort of a forced fresh start. And a sort of a bizarre fresh start. I don't know if you ever had a story like this here, but I don't know if you guys heard, but at the end of January, I was in a horrible car accident. And it was obviously unexpected. I was on my way to a spin class. I do love to work out. I like to do, there's something here in New York City called Class Pass. So you can, basically that's, you have like a subscription to that, and you can go use all different studios around. So you're not just using one gym or like doing like one type of workout. So I could do yoga and I could do boxing classes and I could do spin classes. So it's nice to like kind of keep it fresh because I get bored easily.
Yeah.
So I was on my way, and I was on, my husband I got a couple years ago, this like stand-up scooter. So just like a kid scooter that you would be like, use like one foot to push off of. It's like that, but it's motorized and it does not go very fast. So I like to preface this by saying I would have gotten hit whether I was on the scooter or not. I was not going very fast. I was just sort of like crossing the street with it, maybe going a couple miles per hour. And I was rushing, but I did have a green light, and the person that hit me, though they obviously did not mean to, ran a red light. And I was hit on the right side of my body. I lost consciousness. I ended up shattering my pelvis, breaking 8 ribs, shattering my whole clavicle. I had staples in my head. I had a couple of fractures in my spine. I mean, completely rocked my entire life, body, brain, like everything. So that was sort of a horrible day and changed the course of everything since then in my life, and forced me to like quite literally start over. I had to relearn how to walk. I had to relearn how to do like a lot of normal things, take a shower, get into bed, get dressed, all those things when I was in rehab after I left my trauma floor that I was in for, I think I was in the hospital for maybe 17 days.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a very, very intense experience. One that obviously has like tons of silver linings, but has been super traumatic, humbling, brought a lot of perspective to my life. And just really taught me how to fight.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's a lot. So take us back a little bit, like explain kind of, because you are pretty well known kind of in New York City and beyond. You've been doing what you do for a long time. So tell the listeners kind of where your background is with that.
Yes. So when I got out of school, I knew I wanted to work in the entertainment industry, but like behind the scenes, like doing like marketing and advertising and PR. That's sort of what I went to school for. But I wanted to do it in entertainment. So like work at like a movie production company or something like that, but doing like marketing for them. And I was working with a headhunter that specifically would find jobs for you, temp to perm or just temp for a few months here and there. Cause I still wasn't like fully sure what I wanted it to look like, my career. So this was like the perfect type of headhunter for me. And so I tried a few different things, worked at an ad agency for a little bit, did work at a movie production company for a little bit. And then she told me about this company called Sirius Satellite Radio, and they were looking for a receptionist, which I was like one at the time was one of those people who was like, I don't need to answer phones. I just went to college for 4 years. Everybody could answer phones. Everybody could be an assistant. Everybody's got to start somewhere, right? So I just remember her saying to me, the girl that was working with me, please take this job. I have a really amazing feeling about this company. Thank God. I wish I could go back and find her and thank her because again, changed the whole course of my life. So I took that job, used it as like, a stepping stone, put in the door, made sure everybody got to know me, loved me. I mean, I hope they loved me.
I mean, you clearly have you have a very dynamic personality. It's hard to, and
you've done well at the company since then.
Seems like
a little bit
out.
A little bit.
So I did get the opportunity to interview, to work in those environments, in the marketing department, in the advertising department. But at the same time, people would grab me in different departments and on different shows at Sirius and ask me to use my voice, ask me to, read sweepers and things and like little jingles between things on the radio, and use me for like, what's your vibe on this? What's, your opinion on this subject? I'd go on a talk show and do that. And then became friendly with the guys on the pop station. And they had just lost a girl that they had tried to, kind of bring on. They wanted a female counterpart. And they were like, would you audition? I said, I don't know how to be on the radio, but I'll give it a shot, and auditioned, and the rest was sort of history. So
the rest is history. But can you just, because like we're going to get into your fresh start, but you're incredibly humble. Can you just talk tell a little bit about the people you've talked to on your show, Nicole?
I mean, it's a pop channel, right? So this is like, I knew Taylor Swift long before like the pop world knew her. I mean, I knew her when she was just straight country. We've been interviewing her for years. Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, like anybody who's in the pop space, we know, love, and have really good relationships with them, because one of the things that SiriusXM sort of prides himself on is, getting in at the ground floor with artists and really and helping foster their careers and being supportive of them from the beginning. So I think that that's kind of a nice thing, at least on my channel and my show, that we really try to like use to our advantage, and it has. So yeah, I mean, I obviously interview these amazing people, and anytime somebody is promoting something, even if it's not an artist, if it's a movie, if it's a TV show, if it's a book, we are on that whole promo circuit. So if people are doing late night shows, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and then even the morning, Good Morning America, the Today Show, all like Kelly and gosh, now it's with her husband, right? Mark. But so we're on that whole circuit. So we will get to speak to all these amazing people, and it's been a pretty wild ride for sure.
Was music always a big thing for you?
More pop culture than music. I obviously loved music.
Sure, of course.
And had my fair share of sessions with bands and artists over the years. But I was always a pop culture junkie. I remember being like into tabloids when people still like bought tabloids, like bought like Us Weekly and In Touch and Lifestyle. Like I remember being into those like probably long before I should have. I always would say like I'm like a walking tabloid. And that was probably one of the reasons they ended up making me also the entertainment reporter. So I do all the entertainment reporting for our channel at Sirius. So yeah, it was sort of always my passion.
I have a question for you. So you're clearly like this amazing energy who is in the place you're supposed to be in your life right now. As a child, did you feel like there was something about you that like you knew that there was something big that you had to do in your life?
I do remember saying to my mom, like she had me in when we went to like camp, like I went to sleepaway camp for many years, but I remember before going to sleepaway camp, asking her to enroll me in camps where like I would act. So like we would do like put on a whole play, and you would go there for a few weeks and end up putting on a production. Like I liked being on stage and I liked performing, which, on the radio you are performing.
Yeah.
I do have a flash. It's funny. Somebody reminded me of this. It was a cousin who, and when I was very young, we had this closet I lived there until I was only like 8. There was a closet I remember that had like this crawl space. And like my mom used to let us go back there, like meet my friends or meet my cousins. And I remember pretending to be on the radio. I had this flash because my cousin was like, remember we used to like put on these little shows. And I remember that. And it's almost odd looking back at that, like small foreshadowing. But yeah, I mean, I think I liked being on stage. I liked being in front of people doing something. So for sure, that was probably.
And you must like people, right? You must really be interested in people.
Yeah, and that's interesting too because my father is a dentist. I went to Ithaca College. He and my mom also went to Ithaca College, and that's where they met. So he's a dentist, but I remember when I was deciding what I wanted to major in, I said, so like, were you like bio major? Like, were you pre-med? Like, what did you do? And he told me he was a sociology major. And I was like, why would you choose that? Like, if you knew you wanted to be some sort of doctor. He said, because I knew that like, even if that changed, no matter what I wanted to do or was going to do, whatever you choose to do, you have to be able to be good with people. And that's like something that he felt like sociology would help him with. And so, yeah, like, I feel like I probably get a little bit of that from my father. I think that that's something, I've always liked meeting new people, getting to know new people. I mean, I'm somebody who go out to dinner with you and sit for hours and just drink and talk and drink and talk and drink.
I know. I love that. So in between all of this, you also had kids.
Yes, I had kids. I got, it's funny. I feel like my audience grew with me. They knew me when I was just like single and being crazy and dating in New York City. I have old audio of me, like when I met my husband and like talking about him and being like,
that's
like,
so
really
crazy.
I know, like really into this guy. We got engaged on the air. He asked me to marry him.
No way. Wait, we got to tell that. So what happened? We got to hear that story.
So he had talked. So it's me. It used to be me and 3 boys on the show. It was just 3 guys and myself. Now it's only me and 2 guys. And the guy that left, we're all still very friendly with. And I do my podcast, Have Kids, They Said With. Still,
okay.
But he lives out in California. So they were friendly with him. They got very close with him once we got a little bit serious. And they decided that he was going to come in. They had to get me blindfolded somehow because they had to get him into the studio.
Okay.
And I'm someone who's like super hyper focused. And if you have ever been up to SiriusXM, it's nuts. Like it's always crazy. And we're in these like glass studios and you can always see crazy people walking by. I mean, I always say it's like a fun place. Like I'll never forget going to the bathroom once and there was a nun, because we have a Catholic channel, 50 Cent, the rapper, and Martha Stewart like ran into each other. It's that kind of place.
That sounds like a joke.
Yeah, right. Exactly. but it's that kind of place. Like I was always like hyper focused of what was going out in the hallway. So
right.
got to get him in the studio. So I remember we were doing like a taste testing thing, like a fun like taste testing game.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
they blindfolded me and they were feeding me things and seeing if I could guess what it was. I mean, that's what I remember faintly. And then I remember they went to go, whatever the next thing was, they went to like spoon it into my mouth to see if I could figure it out. And all of a sudden I heard my husband's voice and he was like, whoa, wait. And I was like, what's going on? And he was like, wait, it's Matt. Like, I'm here. I want to talk to you for a second. And I took off my blindfold and there was like people with like cameras and like he was there. And
oh my God.
Annie at the ring. And it was like a whole thing that they had planned. So yeah. And he was like in another studio, on another show, like waiting for like an hour to get in, just sitting probably. Like,
but you have this recorded.
Yeah.
That's
what
amazing.
did that do to the ratings? The ratings bump must have been amazing.
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of things happened. That was crazy. And we ended up replaying that show multiple times over that next month because people were like, oh my God, I missed it.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got, I talked about my wedding, didn't get married on the air, but shared tons of those stories pre and post, honeymoon stuff. I announced that I was pregnant on the air. I went into labor on the air. I mean, everything happened.
Somebody needs to write this movie.
Oh, it really is a movie or some sort of TV show.
Well, I'm so curious, Nicole, because your time there kind of overlapped with the rise of the influencer. So what does that look like for you to become kind of, you were behind, right, the microphone, and then now you're very, very present, right, on like you have a huge following. How did that overlap and intersect for you?
Well, one thing, and I mean, I think it's fine saying this because I think SiriusXM sort of knows they messed up here, but when Facebook started and then like Twitter started, all those things came out. And at the beginning, I remember the higher ups, the powers that be at Sirius were kind of saying, listen, we don't want you doing this because to them, there's a competitor, like these platforms.
Interesting.
Whereas no, they support our platform. And obviously fast forward to today, they use those to like measure things. Right. So unfortunately for somebody who has like millions of listeners every morning, we're probably not as far ahead as we should be and have the following that we do because there was a few years where we weren't allowed to be on those platforms.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So I ended up being a little bit like behind influencer wise. Now we have like an okay following, but still not where I think it should be.
That's interesting.
And then there was like TikTok, and I think I felt that I was too old for a TikTok for a little bit, and so I was like late on that. And but I mean, eventually, yes, I started influencing because then they started realizing, oh, this person like not only has this platform, but like the Instagram platform, but also can maybe talk about it on the radio or our brand or whatever. So
I mean, I think it's interesting because and I'm projecting an experience onto you. You can tell me if I'm wrong here, but like being on the radio, you get to have your voice be heard by literally millions of people every day. And then you get to go pick your kids up from school and you don't have to deal with people connecting your voice to who you are, right? They don't have any idea who you are. And then Instagram, and now you have quite a large following there. But I guess it's a niche following compared to the huge listenership that you have. So what's that experience like? Like, are you getting recognized a little bit now? And is that weird? Like
the way that we get recognized as hosts on our show, it's funny because it's changing. It's obviously we get recognized a little bit more now, but it's usually, so what do you do for a living? Oh, like I'm on the radio. Oh, where? Oh, do you have SiriusXM? Yeah. Well, I'm on the pop channel. Oh, like what are the morning mashup? Oh, you're that Nicole? That's like the way that it usually looks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I should have known. I listen to you every morning. I know your voice. And then it all comes together. Every once in a while, you'll get stopped in a store or stopped on the street or, oh my gosh. But it is kind of nice that you do have still that little bit of that ambiguity. It's not like there's ever like it's like this nice recognition. You're not getting followed by anybody.
Right. The paths.
Right. They don't know you that
So what was that like having your kids and in terms of balancing everything you were doing?
I mean, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I obviously had a lot of support from family, from some nannies very early on, from my husband, who's amazing. And it has a very flexible job because he's in sales and always has been able to sort of help because I was never, as my kids got older, was never going to be somebody who could like get them dressed and lunches made and get them to school in the morning because I was on the air. I mean, I leave the house before anybody wakes up. So that was hard. You feel sad, like you feel like you're missing things sometimes. But at the same time, I also have flexibility because then usually if it's not like a crazy day for me, I do have flexibility in the afternoon and can be here when they get home from school and can do things in the middle of the day with them sometimes that other parents wouldn't be able to do. I mean, the balance is hard because yes, there are weeks when like I'm traveling to LA and I've got this event and I'm on this red carpet and I'm recording here, and you feel like, when is there time to be a mom? But I think every mom and dad
everybody
deals with that on some level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I think nobody would blink an eye if it were a dad in that situation.
Also true.
You know,
let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do your kids have any proclivities to doing like radio or acting or anything?
They're very outgoing children. They're very aware of what I do and the way that they are blessed. Like they've met like my daughter has met Taylor Swift 3 times, like back to Taylor. They get to go to like concerts and meet cool people. And yeah, there's the perks. They're very much know the perks that they can have. And we try to make sure that they are grateful and know that they're very lucky. Not everybody has, these types of things. But yeah, they've got a lot of energy. I think that they will, one of them will end up in front of the camera or maybe behind the mic for sure. I get that vibe. Yeah.
I love that. So take us back now. So your mom, you're working this fateful day, you're on your scooter.
Yes.
What is that like? Do you remember like going down?
So yes, the thing is I knew I was going to get hit. And then when you're like in a hospital or anytime something horrible like this happens, you start doing the like, what ifs, you start getting guilty and like, what if I just not like, why did I race there? Because the reason I ended up taking that class last minute was I had a call that was canceled. So I was like, oh, now I have time to go take this class because I'm always trying to cram everything in.
Yeah.
And for me, working out is such like a anxiety reducer, stress. Like obviously I want to be healthy, but like it's not about like looking a certain way. So I was racing there. Like, I mean, I was like, crap. Okay, let's get my clothes real quick. Let's sign up for this class. Get on the scooter. I'm going to get there. I remember being like, there was like a, when you're going across a crosswalk, it's counting down, especially in New York City. Maybe it doesn't do that every day. It counts down. I had like 5 more seconds and I was right there.
That's plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Thank you. Yeah. The guy that was coming that ended up hitting me, he was like light surfing. When you're going down a street and you're like, catch light, catch light, and you catch light. Yep. He was anticipating he was going to turn green, but it wasn't green yet. So I remember like being almost to the other side of the curb and being like, shit, like I am gonna get hit. Like I am.
What does that feel like though? Like what? Like
it happened so fast. I remember thinking, oh no, I'm gonna get hit. But for 2 seconds being like, I'm gonna get hit. I'll go down, but not what happened to me. Right. Like I think I thought it was gonna be like oh crap. Okay, I'm okay. Yeah, that hurt. Maybe
like a movie hit. Yeah.
A movie hit.
A J-Lo hit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's not the way it happened. So I knew it was gonna happen. I lost consciousness, and the next thing I know, I am on the ground and I don't see anything. I can hear a man that's holding my head, and he said that I was bleeding, and he said, I'm a firefighter. I don't know if there was just like a firefighter in there. And he said, I'm a firefighter, you're bleeding. I've called the ambulance. They're going to come. And I remember being like, I'm feeling that I couldn't move, and I couldn't move like my legs or my arms.
That's scary.
And I said, I'm going to die. He was like, you're not going to die. I'm going to lay here with you until somebody comes. I remember the guy getting out of the car and yelling, you ran a red light. I'm going to give this man grace and get the benefit of the doubt because I'm sure it was very traumatic for him as well. Yeah. He did not mean to run over a person, and he probably was like feeling in shock as
panic.
Well.
Yeah.
Panic.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, getting into the hospital was blotchy, being in the ambulance is blotchy, getting into the OR.
How did they get in touch with your husband?
So they called. My daughter happened to have COVID that week, so she was home from school, which was a nightmare. And President Biden was in town. So New York City is like at a standstill. They called him a million times. He never picks up a number he doesn't know, like many of us. We figured it was spam. And the cop was in the ambulance with me, and she's calling and calling and calling. And I think my daughter was like, Daddy, you should probably pick this up. They keep calling. Something's wrong. So they eventually got a hold of him. And they knew, because I think they saw on my phone, and I was with it enough. I came to enough to tell them, please call my husband.
I always say, like, because I'm a writer and I've been in this world forever. Yeah. things happen to people like you, right, for a reason, right? Like it could have been anybody on the scooter, right? And like now you have this platform to talk about this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I have a couple of friends that are like bloggers and influencers, and they used to say the weirdest shit happens to me because I am in this world, and like it's like the universe wanted me to talk about it, right? And I always say, like, as a writer, it's like, don't make me write about you. Like, please don't make me write about you, right? So like I think it's fortuitous. So you're in the hospital and your husband comes.
He comes with my daughter who, you know, after COVID, things got very different in hospitals. You're not allowed to be there unless you're over 12. My kids are both much younger than that. And, you know, he had to bring her home and then come back. And I don't think they even knew, you know, how bad my injuries were. I just remember I kept going in and out of consciousness because I was blacking out from pain because everything was broken. I mean, I think I broke like between 30 and 40 bones in my body from this.
Wow.
So I remember he got her home. My mom came in. He was back and forth. I was just like weeping for some sort of medicine, which they weren't really allowed to give me yet because they knew I was probably gonna have to go into surgery. And then the next thing I knew, I woke up and I had like a 7 or 8 hour surgery. This man that I mean, I get like welled up, like thinking about it, like he put me back together. This man, he was like the most amazing surgeon. I am grateful for him every day of my life. He was a very good surgeon and made some quick game time decisions that probably will make it be that I will be completely normal again eventually.
You know, it's interesting. We talked to another a musician on this podcast whose wife nearly died in childbirth, and she's okay. And we were talking about the concept of marriage in terms of trauma, right? Because, you know, often when you're young and you meet somebody at a bar, you're like, he's cute, this is fun, I'm gonna get married. But that's not really marriage. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of what your husband's role, and because you were not conscious, you were like, right? So what is that like, you know, in terms of kind of this idea of marriage and relationships, to be where you were and he's making these game time decisions, like that's big.
Yeah. I mean, I am forever obviously grateful to him too. And, you know, like I'm sure a lot of people will say, I think something like this either makes or breaks you. And this made us. Obviously, we've had our problems over the years. We met in 2007. But he stepped up in a way that it's like when you say, like in sickness and in health, when you take those vows, I mean, this man who, not to like put him down or anything, I would never be able to think that he would ever step up in this way. I don't know if I could have stepped up in the way that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he took charge. He went into, complete autopilot and took on he was terrified himself. He was like weeping at night. Like they didn't know if I was going to be okay, how I was going to be okay, what my recovery would look like. You know, we've got 2 children who need both of their parents. He also, fun fact, 30 days before I got hit, had just had a knee replacement. Yeah, we were just broken from an old basketball injury. You know, he had so many surgeries over the years, and eventually they were like, we just have to replace it. So he was still healing and was forced to kind of be like, okay, now I'm like in charge of everything. He did it all. Now, granted, we had so many people step up and be like, all right, we'll get the kids. We can come here. We'll stay here for the weekend. Like, what do you need us to do? Family and friends just there for me in a way that I'll never be able to repay them. But he kept me calm. He was someone who, took charge with like the insurance stuff, like with the the legal stuff. I mean, there was so many things, and then the influx of people. So it wasn't just family and friends, but because yes, I am on the air and I am somewhat of a public figure, people at work calling, and the people in the press department were like, what are we putting out? What are we saying? You know, she's not on the air now. Like, what's happening? There was a lot he had to take on. And I mean, he was always my best friend, but like became a friend in a way that I never thought that I actually had. I know, I do too.
This makes me want to cry. I love that. I love that. Were they worried about your brain?
So yes, but everything was okay. They did like obviously a bunch of tests. And I was not wearing a helmet. Please wear a helmet. But this was something that wasn't like I was going far. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you're going far. Please put on a helmet. Yeah. Nothing happened to my face. That one scratch on my face, I don't know how.
Blessing.
Blessing. And then it became okay. They were worried about like a punctured lung and those types of things. But yes, they worry about your brain first, and then a little bit of your back. Like, I think they were worried. They didn't know if I was going to be able to walk properly again. And I obviously am going to. Still not walking great, but I'm getting there.
So what is this?
I mean, it's the fact that this happened in January and like you're sitting in front of us, you look gorgeous, you're like moving, you're talking, you're gesticulating like a New Yorker. Like, you know, it's amazing to me just the like where you're at. I don't know what it was like, but like where you're at now, I can't believe that you had an accident like less than 6 months ago.
Thank you.
No, a big one. And so I was going to say, so what does that do to your mindset? You mentioned at the start of the show that it really was your fresh start. So what did that look like?
You know, I mean, I would consider myself a very strong person, but something like that can just like destroy your spirit. And I thank him. I thank like my mom and dad for like keeping my spirits as high as they could. The nurses in that hospital, I mean, they are like unsung heroes. I mean, they sat and told me like it was going to be okay, that they know that I can't see.
Where were you?
Now.
What hospital?
I was at Weill Cornell.
Okay.
And these people, I cried leaving all of them because I mean, they were responsible for like getting me through probably the hardest time of my entire life.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I knew it was going to be a fresh start. It was going to be my life moving forward was going to be different. That, you know, I was going to have to work really hard to get back to where I was before, physically, mentally. I was having PTSD. I was waking up drenched in sweat every night. They had to change my sheets constantly. Flashbacks. I mean, the anxiety was through the roof. I got perspective. It was like all of a sudden these things that, you know, I'm sort of a worrywart and somebody who can like just freak out over things that are not necessary to freak out over.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, that's not what's important. Like in a matter of a second, like I almost died. Like some of the doctors said to me, we're not sure how you did, like judging from what we saw, from like the pictures, from the way that you got hit, from what the injuries, we're not really sure what happened. So I feel like moving forward, I needed to like find grace for myself. I needed to find like new, like gratitude that I didn't have before. Patience with myself, with my children, with my husband, with anybody in my life that I didn't have before. It was not something I was graced with at birth. So I needed to sort of like reevaluate everything and learn that like the things that I used to get all crazy about that were just so not important anymore.
Yeah. Who was up there watching over you?
It's funny. I spoke to Teresa Caputo. I don't know if you know the Long Island Medium.
We love Teresa.
Oh, Olivia knows Teresa Caputo.
We love Teresa.
So I love her too. And she was on the show a little bit after that happened and was like, I heard about what happened. I wanted to have you on. And she said, you know, in no uncertain terms, you know, my grandparents, my husband's dad, who recently passed away in the middle of COVID, you know, a cousin that I was very close to passed away, that they were all there and that like I would not have been okay if they weren't. So I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, sure. I can see that. I can see that. So that being said, what's coming up for you? Like besides the healing, which you're obviously working very hard on, what's next for Nicole?
So, you know, I had like a lot of like brand deals and things like for influencer wise that I started getting ready for some skin company and working with this clothing company and all these things that sort of had to take a halt because it was like the beginning of the year. And it was like, okay, Q1, we'll get this started. And then I went and got hit by a car.
Of course. Yeah.
So some of those things are starting to pick up now. We just opened a new studio down in Miami, SiriusXM. So we'll probably be doing some things down there.
Amazing.
So that's pretty exciting. We've got like we usually end up having like a lot of summer concerts that we'll do things with listeners for. So that's really exciting. Yeah. We are going to be going to Taylor just keeps coming back during this episode. Yeah. We're going to be doing a really cool thing with her and a bunch of winners that we did a contest with. And we're going to do a whole thing in a suite with them to be able to see Taylor. So we're going to be at that show at MetLife. So that'll be pretty cool.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
A lot of traveling in the summer. We like to be out of New York City.
Yeah.
Not a place you want to be in the middle of the summer. So we'll be going to Maine to a family house. We'll be going down to the Outer Banks.
Nice.
Yeah, things like that. And just like my kids' activities, which have just like sports have taken over the world. Like I live to just take them to sports and
yeah. And now you have a different perspective on it because now you can just really enjoy it. Yeah.
Sure,
so Nicole, if somebody's going through a fresh start, whether it's forced or whether it's whatever, what would be some general wise words that you can impart to them?
I think that you need to, like, I think I've said this a few times, like you need to give yourself some grace. Like you need to be patient with yourself. Again, not something that I'm good at, but like you cannot, like so many times I was like, okay, I'm done. And like my husband would be like, you're still in the hospital. You are not done, but you just want it to be over. You want to be over the hump. Like it is a long game. And I think it's important to celebrate the little wins, right? So like if you are starting something fresh, like as small as it is, like when I was able to sit up for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a step. And I had to celebrate it because if it was just like, great, woohoo, like I went to the bathroom by myself. Like, no, this is huge. You got hit by a car, you almost died. So whatever that fresh start is, I think that it's important to actually celebrate those things and have it be part of that journey. I mean, really, you know, like reward yourself and be proud of yourself for the like the steps that you're making towards whatever the new thing is, for sure.
I love that. That's really, really profound advice. Yeah. So last question. Okay. Most important. What was the last thing that you ate and truly loved?
Okay. So this is like kind of bizarre and I kind of stole it, but I tried it because I saw it on Instagram. So Bethany Frankel, I love watching Bethany Frankel. I love following her. And she's always got little fun food things because she's obviously loves to cook. So she always has seaweed, like the wraps, like in her house, and was like, you know, everyone does like lettuce wraps. Like I like to wrap things in seaweed. She whipped up just like a can of tuna, right? So you're getting like this sushi vibe, but like already cooked tuna, spicy mayo, like salt and pepper, all this stuff, and like thinly sliced like cucumber, some avocado, whatever, and literally made a sushi roll. No rice, made a sushi roll with this like tuna salad, but it had a spicy tuna vibe in it. I was like, this is the most refreshing. I've been having like real sushi, healthy, like delightful little trick now that I have. And I've had it for lunch easily once or twice a week for the past few weeks.
I love, like, that's like such an underrated thing is having the nori in the house.
Love the nori.
It's so good. You know, my kids eat it too. My son loves nori. Like,
really?
He likes like the little, like
the packages that are like spiced.
Okay, I need to work on that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, but like I do too. I love, and you can wrap like eggs in there. You can do anything. Yeah.
And I know that seaweed is like very good for you.
Really good for you. Yeah.
It was like double whammy. I mean,
I love it.
It's
I love it. Well, Nicole, we are so happy that you're okay. Number one. And just, you know, continue to like share your story and share you're such a positive, beautiful spirit.
Thank you.
And, you know, it's wonderful to have watched your growth and your journey and to hear your voice every day. And, you know, just thank you for taking the time and being here and for doing all that you do.
Thank you guys too. Let's go out and get drinks soon, girls.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for listening to today's story. We're always here and we're proud of you.
A Fresh Story is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the first and only platform for everything you need to begin again. You can read the show notes and learn more about today's episode at afreshstory.com.
As always, we want to remind our listeners that while we strive to provide accurate and helpful information, we are not medical doctors or mental health professionals. We want to remind you all that the information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. We highly recommend consulting a qualified healthcare or mental health professional for any concerns or questions you may have. Remember, we are a podcast, but we are not licensed medical professionals. Always consult with your healthcare provider for any medical decisions. And as a gentle reminder, all opinions are our guests and do not necessarily reflect our own.